John Bonham Drum Chat 3, Led Zeppelin Drum Chat 3. We're going to focus on the first Led Zeppelin album. We're going to go straight up all the albums and some videos. But this one's Led Zeppelin 1, recorded in October 1968. What's that, Moxie? Yeah. Moxie's telling me that this album, or this video, is brought to us by Terry Keating, Greatest Hits. A famous drummer in Chicago who recorded his own tunes. Anyway, available on iTunes, and the disc is available on eBay. Right, Mox? All right. Led Zeppelin 1, recorded in October 1968. Jimmy Page had been in the Yardbirds for a couple of years, and the band folded, but he decided to keep going. So he went out and he got John Paul Jones on bass and keyboards, and then found Robert Plant, who was friends with John Bonham from some other bands, Band of Joy and stuff. Anyway, so they put together the band, and they went out right away, and they did a tour of Scandinavia, I think in September of 1968. And in another video I put, where I talk about Bonham's drums, the pictures, you see of Bonham playing a Slingerland kit, a Sparkle Slingerland kit, which, yeah, I guess you can assume is green sparkle, since he played other green sparkle kits, but I guess it could be anything. It could be champagne. Well, it's probably not champagne, judging by the pictures, but red, silver, blue. But those pictures were, when you see him playing those Slingerlands, those were taken on the Scandinavian tour of 1968. And by the way, I do have to say that most of the pictures you see, or at least those really good ones, were the real close-ups of John Bonham playing the Slingerlands are at like the Gladsaxe club in Stockholm, I think, in Scandinavia, by a fellow named Jorgen Angel. And he took a bunch of those pictures, which, by the way, I did buy one online about 8 years ago. He sent me one. It was, I don't know, like $60 or whatever. I got it framed. And it's a cool picture of Bonham just going berserk around the Slingerlands. So I want to give him some credit there. God love it, Jorgen. Anyway, so right after that tour, they went back to London to Olympic Studios and cut this record, supposedly in, you used to hear 30 hours. I think as more time went by, Jimmy Page said 36 or 38 or even 40 hours. Nonetheless, I think they said it cost under £2,000, British pounds, to record and mix. Big deal there by Page the perfectionist. Glyn Johns was the producer-engineer, but after the fact, Jimmy Page was like, well, Glyn Johns engineered it, he didn't produce it, and I think that caused a rift between Glyn Johns and Jimmy Page. A wonderful album. It has, the first side opens with Good Times, Bad Times, and then the second side opens with Your Time Is Gonna Come. But actually, the version that I had, I never really owned, well, maybe much later I got the album vinyl, but on the cassette, it opened with Your Time Is Gonna Come, and then the second side opened with Good Times, Bad Times, and then ended with Dazed Confused, which I thought was the much better way, to hear. I had always assumed that it opened with Your Time Is Gonna Come, and then I was reading some articles somewhere. It's like, it opened with Good Times, Bad Times. I was like, no, it didn't. It opened with, and then I found out later that I guess some cassettes they switched to the thingamajig. So it should have opened with Your Time Is Gonna Come. That's what I say. They should switch it today. But anyway, so you have all the tunes on there. Good Times, Bad Times put Bonham immediately on the drum map. And of course, John Bonham supposedly got he always claimed he got it from Carmine Appice, or Carmine Appice, or Carmen Appice, or Carmine Appice, or Appice, on some song he did, where supposedly, I think there was like a little bit of a triplet, and John Bonham said he got it from him. Nonetheless, Carmine Appice was thrilled that, later interviews that he said, well, I'm glad you think you got it from me because I never played it, but whatever. So Good Times, Bad Times put Bonham on the map. And of course, all the other tunes on there are just rocking. Remember, Bonham's kit that he recorded that with, there's no pictures, at least that I've ever seen. I'm pretty foaming at the mouth. But there's no pictures, supposedly, of them recording Zeppelin 1. I'm sure there are probably somewhere. But in that it was a green sparkle Ludwig kit, 22, 13, 16, with a 5x14 Superphonic metal snare. And if you listen to the drums, they're tuned up just like his drums, and even his snare drum has that beefy sound. But I'm telling you, Bonham knew how to tune drums. Always, especially the snare drum. He just had it down to a science. And again, it's a high tuning. On that particular album, I think the heads, I know they always talk about, you'd be like Ochiltree and McKinnon and these guys would say, well, his top heads were quoted in Emperors. I would be pretty sure that on that record they might have been ambassadors, because the drums are really ringing, great sound. And I think Glyn Johns at that time Glenn Johns and Jimmy Page were into the ambient mic setup. Apparently, Glenn Johns has a 3-mic setup, which you can look up on eBay or online. They put a microphone about, I think, 6 feet in front of the drum kit, maybe probably an equidistant away right above, and then one off to the right that I think would come in and face the snare drum. Sorry, my face is here on the screen, but you're there. So, so that's maybe ultimately where Page got the idea, and they recorded all the stuff. From then on. But nonetheless, Bonham's toms are tuned open up. To me, it sounds like the Revita's Zildjians as cymbals. Of course, you never know. I wasn't there. Maybe if they did the Pepsi challenge and somebody said, "Hey, Terry, is this a Paiste 602 and a Zildjian?" I'd be like, "It's a Zildjian." They'd be like, "Wrong, it's a 602." I mean, you can stone me, take me out and stone me, I don't know. But I'm just, my opinion, I think they were Vita Zildjians on the first record, possibly even on parts of the second record. Anyway, so they did that in under 40 studio hours. They went in, they cranked out the tunes. A lot of the tunes on there, though, were written by other folks. Zeppelin wasn't the only band that kind of borrowed heavily from other people, but a lot of the tunes on there. There's even a tune on there, I think, Babe, I'm Gonna Leave You was Baby, I'm Leaving You, or whatever, that Joan Baez used to sing. I don't know if she wrote it or somebody else did. There's a lot of stuff on there that was kind of borrowed heavily. And even some of the stuff, like Days Confused, was actually, that song almost more or less in its entirety arranged, was done by the Yardbirds, and it might have been called I'm Confused or I'm So Confused or whatever. But nonetheless, Zeppelin comes out, cranks that stuff out, it has a beefcake sound. All the kids went wild over it. A lot of the critics didn't. They panned it. And of course, that really, I think, set the tone for Zeppelin. They really kind of had a hard-on for the critics after that. I know the artwork, there's a fella, Chris Dreja, I think he was the drummer in the original Yardbirds. He was a photographer, and I think he helped with pictures on the first record and the second record. I think they got a $200,000 advance for that record. Peter Grant and Jimmy Page flew to New York, met with Ahmet Ertegun and Wexler. What was his first name? Anyway, but they went in there and walked out with $200,000. Of course, it cost them $5,000 to make the record. The rest is history. But it's a great album. Right, MOXY the Dog? How are you? Oh, you're all surly today. What's the matter? Am I not loving you enough? Oh, my God. All right. So, but it's unbelievable. And I think that there were a couple... I'm sure they recorded some other songs for Zeppelin 1 and didn't put on the album. Namely, I think We're Gonna Groove, which ended up on Coda, I think was recorded for Zeppelin 1. It took a little while for me to get used to We're Gonna Groove. I remember when I first heard it in 1981, it came out or whenever it came out, 82. Of course, on the Royal Albert Hall, I mean, they're killing it. Bonham's on fire there. But anyway, so that's Led Zeppelin 1, recorded in 1968, released in 1969. Moxie, God, you're roasting, buddy. You gotta get off my lap. I love you. Mox, please. And it came out in early 1969, and then Zeppelin 2, I think, came out in late 69. So in 1 year, 1969, 2 Zeppelin records came out. What are some other factoids on the first Zeppelin record? Jimmy Page played his ticket. Remember, he had a Telecaster that was painted all psychedelic. Lexington, please. Was painted all psychedelic. And I don't think he played the Les Paul till the second record. And anyway, Led Zeppelin 1, a phenomenal... Come here. What's the matter?